Making sense of the day from a Calgary perspective. Calgary Today with Joe McFarlane on 770 CHQR.
You know what the beautiful thing about a short work week is? We're that much closer to Wine Wednesday, especially if we don't have to work on the Monday. Mike Roberts from Co-op Wine, Spirits and Beer joining us. How was your long weekend?
Well, I was moving, actually, so it was a little intense, but today's my Monday, actually. So it's a great way to start the week.
It's hilarious how ways the number of people I've talked to have said, I did this and this and this and this on the long weekend, and I feel like I need a vacation from the long weekend. Yeah. So you always take advantage of the situation. Before we get into this wine, I did want to ask, because Jock brought it up during the sportscast, is a $700. Number one, would you accept a $750,000 jacket as a gift?
If I knew somebody who would buy it from me, sure.
I know you wouldn't pay for one, because but it brings me to the question about wine, because we talk about affordability and that kind of thing, but what about those high-end wines? How much first off, what is the most expensive wine you've ever seen in your stores?
Oh, in our stores, that's a good question. Probably be like $3,500. We do have, we did, I should say, have a set of wine that was about $16,000, but I think it was 6 bottles in there. Okay. It could have been more than that. It was what's called a vertical, so that's like 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. That's a vertical, is when it's vintage on top of each other.
Right.
Of what is very expensive wine. There's way more expensive whiskey out there. Like, we have a $50,000 bottle of whiskey.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Can you bring those into Wine Wednesday, maybe?
To look at, maybe.
Look at.
An armed guard.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I'd imagine that to take that out, you need security on it. And when you're transporting it, you put a seatbelt on it.
It's interesting, though, because whiskey and wine, so a couple of things. First of all, in Canada, there's no legal resale market, right? Other than like a retailer. So set that out.
Yeah.
But whiskey and like spirits and stuff are different, because if you don't open it, it's not going anywhere. So actually, as time goes on, as the world supply of whatever that whiskey was should deplete. So you technically, it should go up in value. But wine, even if it hasn't been opened, over time, potentially is declining. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Although some of the more, kind of real expensive wines are quite historical and stuff like that. So people will still take them anyways, because it represents some sort of historical significance, right?
So what is the most expensive bottle of wine you've seen or that you've heard of?
Well, you always hear about these auctions, some of these old Bordeaux's and stuff like that. Different people have collections and they put them on the block at Christie's and Sotheby's and all that kind of stuff. I did look this up because I've been asked before and I couldn't remember, but the most expensive bottle of wine ever sold was a 1947 Chateau Cheval Blanc, which is Bordeaux wine, and it's $304,000 what it's sold for a single bottle, but it's an imperial bottle, so it's 6 liters.
Oh, okay.
So you're what, $50,000 a bottle? Is that right? Did I do the math?
I think the math works. Yeah, because that sounds about right. Yeah. I'm going to take it because math, as we've learned, math is hard. But and for radio, that's why we get out of math.
Usually there's really expensive stuff. Like, you definitely seeing wine that's, kind of sub $5,000 a bottle. There's some that new vintages are released at that price. Some fancy French wines are definitely released at like $3,000, $3,500 US from the winery, like that, the newest vintage. But usually with prices like these ones in the 50s and 100s, it's usually super historical. Like, they found some like champagne bottles at the bottom of the ocean from a ship, or, something crazy like that. So yeah, it's kind of neat.
Final question before we get into actually something that is relevant to the story is, would transporting that wine be different than your typical transportation of wine, because you don't want to break, like you'd have to be like in an armored truck, would you not?
Yeah, I don't know if they'd go that far. I mean, it'd definitely be like the Stanley Cup, how it's got the guy with the white glove that follows it wherever it goes. For sure. Yeah. But you don't want to jostle it about, right? I mean, even like my wine is in I tease, like I have a wine cellar, right? Like Jamin builds these like limestone caves underneath Copperfield or something, right? Yeah. But you go downstairs, get a bottle of wine. If it's something that's been down, I've had for a few years, like when you come back up the stairs, you don't want to like carry it like a football and like running your arms back and forth, right? You're just sloshing it around. So it'd be the same thing. You'd want to make sure that it was carried properly and not jostled about too much, for sure.
Absolutely. Let's get into this wine now. You got an Argentinian here. What's the collection here, and talk a little bit about the winery?
Yeah, it's fun. It's called Clos de los Siete, and so very Spanish sounding it is. It's from Argentina, so it means the Clos, C-L-O-S. Whenever you see that on a wine label, it means like a closed-in vineyard. So it literally usually means that the vineyard is walled or closed off, and so the Clos of the Seven is what that means. So it's a group of 4 wineries, some French families that actually from Bordeaux that are growing grapes and making wine in Argentina, which is not uncommon. And they've sort of come together to make a winery from this pocket of vineyards in Argentina in the Uco Valley. And a very famous winemaker by the name of Michel Rolland is the master blender, if you will. And this came out, I don't know, probably a good 10 years ago at least, and it's never really gone away. They've continued to make it, and it always does really well.
What is it about this wine that stands out so long for that long?
I think that it's interesting because in Argentina, we think of Malbec probably, and we think of red wines, or many listeners do. And I think of like purple teeth and purple lips, like big, heavy, real modern style wines that we love and that are super plush and easy to drink. And this definitely has a bit of a French Bordeaux feel to it. The oak is a little more kind of prominent in there. The wine is restrained. It's pulled back a little bit. It's not as like mouth staining, if you will. And that's not to say it's not full bodied, but it's just a little more of a French style really than an Argentinian style.
Kind of a crowd pleaser of sorts that way, is that it's less about the staining and more about the drinkability, I suppose.
I would say that's what Argentinian wines and Malbecs are usually like, and that this is actually probably being a little more serious. Like a little bit more
sophisticated.
We could say that. Yeah, a little more sophisticated, a little more complex, a little more layered, and takes a little bit longer to sort of reveal itself to you, if that makes any sense.
Is there a special on these ones, perhaps?
We are tomorrow in all of our stores. We've got Summer Madness, so it's going to be great. There's awesome savings. So it's kind of like a buy big, save big. So everything's buy in sort of slightly larger quantities, if you will, and great savings. So this one's going to be on sale for $16.99. So that's about $9 off.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a great deal.
Good little taste to it, too.
It is. It's mostly Malbec and then some Merlot in there, a little bit of Cab Sauv, a little Petit Verdot. So it's yummy. It's got a little more savoriness to it than I think you would normally think of for an Argentinian wine. So a little bit of brown butter from the oak and a little baking spice, and yeah, it's really yummy.
A little bit of a different taste every time you take a little taste. I like that a lot, actually.
Yes,
I'm not usually a red guy, but I'll take that one.
Continue to open up and develop as it sits here through the afternoon.
Mike Roberts from Co-op Wine, Spirits and Beer joining us. Have yourself a great week, my friend, and all the best, as this is your Monday from what you were telling me. So
just starting.
If you want to check out more on this wine as well, you can go on over to Facebook Live. Hi there, Facebook Live. In the meantime, let's head on over to helicopter traffic for Gateway at West District by Truman. Make your place your home with customizable design options here on Wine Wednesday.